It begins with a whisper, the sound of wind moving through a valley untouched by time. Leaves fall, water flows, and yet nothing seems in a hurry. Somewhere between dawn and dusk, the river curves around a stone that's been there for centuries. It doesn't push against it. It simply finds a way. And in that quiet persistence, a truth hides in plain sight. We, on the other hand, live in urgency. Every second feels borrowed, every silence an interruption. We chase speed as if slowing down means falling behind. But nature doesn't rush. The seasons turn without alarm clocks. The sun never forgets to rise. The flower doesn't bloom because it should. It blooms because it's time. Lao Tzu once wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." A line so simple, yet it contains the essence of balance we've forgotten. What if our constant striving is the very thing keeping us from peace? What if everything we chase was meant to come, only when we stop running? And in that still moment, between one breath and the next, perhaps we begin to understand what it truly means to live in harmony with the way. We live in an age where everything moves fast. Our food, our messages, our goals, our thoughts. A second of stillness feels like an error, a glitch in the system. If nature's rhythm is a steady heartbeat, ours is a racing pulse, one that never slows, even when we sleep. Every morning, we wake not to the sound of birds, but to alarms that slice through silence. We scroll before we breathe. We reply before we reflect. We fill every quiet corner of our lives with noise. Podcasts, playlists, conversations, plans. As if we fear what might emerge if we truly listen to the silence. But here's the paradox. The more we chase productivity, the less we feel alive. We achieve more, yet experience less. We move faster, yet arrive nowhere. We connect with millions, yet feel unseen. The irony is striking. We call it progress. But progress toward what? A world where rest feels like guilt, where stillness feels like weakness, and where doing nothing is mistaken for wasting time? Nature, in contrast, knows the art of waiting. The seed buried in winter does not force itself to bloom. The river doesn't demand the mountain to move. Even decay, in its quiet dignity, becomes part of creation's rhythm. And yet, humans, the only creatures aware of time, are the only ones constantly at war with it. We schedule our days as if control equals meaning. We fill our calendars with things to do, afraid that without them, we might not matter. But what if we have mistaken motion for growth? What if, in trying to outrun uncertainty, we've only lost our way deeper in the maze? We often say, "I just need more time." But perhaps the truth is simpler. We don't need more time. We need to return to time, to remember what it feels like when a minute is a minute, not a metric. The world tells us that speed is success. But Lao Tzu reminds us, by letting it go, it all gets done. What if the wisdom of life is not in controlling the current, but in learning to flow with it? Maybe the real accomplishment isn't in how much we do, but how gracefully we can be. And maybe the reason we never feel complete is because we've forgotten the stillness that completes everything. There is a rhythm to existence, one so subtle we rarely hear it anymore. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. it simply moves. The Tao, or the Way, as Lao Tzu described it, is not something to chase or to learn. It is the current beneath all things, the quiet order of chaos, the balance within imbalance. To live in harmony with it is not to control life, but to cooperate with it. We are taught that life is a mountain to climb, that peace waits at the summit, after achievement, after validation, after enough. But nature teaches something radically different. The mountain itself is not to be conquered, it simply is. In nature, nothing hurries, and yet everything unfolds with perfect timing. The flower does not open because it has a plan. The wave does not reach the shore because it tries. The tree doesn't rush to grow taller than the forest beside it. And yet, all become exactly what they're meant to be, without strain, without resistance. This is the essence of Wu Wei, effortless action. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means allowing your actions to arise from stillness, not struggle, from alignment, not ambition. When we move in harmony with the Tao, we stop forcing life to fit our expectations, and instead, we become like water, shaping ourselves to what is. Water has no shape, yet it takes all forms. It yields to the stone, yet wears it down over centuries. It flows around obstacles, not against them, and because of that, it always arrives where it's meant to go. Lao Tzu's wisdom was never about withdrawal from life. It was about participation without distortion. To act without attachment, to move without resistance, to let go of the illusion that we are separate from the current of life. Because when we hurry, we separate ourselves from what is. We step out of flow and into friction. We try to control the river, not realizing that the river was never against us. This is why so many of our efforts leave us exhausted but unfulfilled. We measure life by progress, not presence. We mistake tension for purpose. We confuse control with peace. But look closer. When have you ever found peace through control? When have you ever felt truly alive while racing against time? Our obsession with doing keeps us from being. And being, that is where life actually happens. When you pause long enough, you begin to see. The world doesn't fall apart without your constant interference. The garden still grows when you stop pruning. The clouds still move when you stop watching. The people you love still breathe, live, and become without your direction. And maybe, just maybe, so can you. To embrace the Tao is to surrender the illusion of control, not to abandon responsibility. It is to act from stillness, to let clarity, not chaos, guide your motion. To understand that doing less doesn't mean becoming less. It means doing what is essential and allowing the rest to unfold naturally. This is the paradox of balance. When you stop pushing, things begin to move. When you stop striving, results begin to appear. When you stop forcing, life begins to flow. The universe has its own intelligence, an ancient wisdom that doesn't rush. The tide never forgets when to return. The moon never misses its turn to shine. Everything happens exactly when it's meant to. And you are no exception. Yet we resist this truth because waiting feels like weakness. Patience feels like passivity. We fear that if we stop, we'll fall behind. But the truth is simpler. You cannot fall behind on a path that was never a race. There is no competition in nature. there is only cooperation. The sun doesn't compete with the stars. The river doesn't envy the rain. Each plays its part, and in doing so, completes the other. So when Lao Tzu says, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished, he is not just describing the world, he is describing the essence of peace itself. The peace that comes when we stop trying to become something and start remembering what we already are. Because when you live according to the Tao, time no longer controls you. You act when it's time to act. You rest when it's time to rest. You speak when truth is ready to be spoken, not when silence is unbearable. In that state, every action feels natural. There is no waste, no rush, no resistance, only flow. And this is the quiet revolution. Lao Tzu invites us into a rebellion not against society, but against our own restless mind. A return to the forgotten rhythm of existence, a surrender not to laziness, but to life itself. Because when we finally stop hurrying, we realize we were never behind. Life was waiting for us to catch up to now. And in that realization, the struggle dissolves. The noise softens. The world slows. And for the first time, so do we. There once was a man who lived by a river. Every morning, he would wake before the sun and stare at the water, restless, impatient, watching the current race toward the horizon. He believed the river knew the secret to life. "Look how fast it moves," he would whisper. "If I could flow like that, always forward, always ahead, then maybe I'd find peace." So he began to build. He carved wooden paddles, tied reeds into rafts, and spent his days chasing the current downstream. Each day he tried to go faster, but the faster he went, the more exhausted he became. The river, however, didn't notice. It moved as it always had, gentle, unbothered, carrying leaves, birds, and fallen branches alike. One morning, after years of striving, his raft broke apart in the rapids. He clung to a piece of wood, shivering, until the current carried him into a quiet bend of the river where the water slowed, and the sun warmed the surface with gold. For the first time, he stopped paddling. He simply floated. And in that stillness, he saw things he had never noticed before. The dragonflies dancing above the water, the patterns of light shifting across the stones below, the reflection of the mountains in the ripples. He realized the river wasn't rushing at all. It only seemed fast when he fought it. He laughed, a deep, quiet laugh, and for the first time, he didn't feel separate from the water. He was the water, flowing, resting, changing, alive. From that day on, he stopped chasing. He built a small hut by the bank and began teaching travelers who passed by. They would come asking, "How can I reach the ocean faster?" He would smile, dip his hand into the current and say, "The river has no destination. It is already home." And when they didn't understand, he would point to a fallen leaf floating nearby. "See how it moves? It doesn't swim. It doesn't steer. Yet it arrives." Years passed, and the man grew old. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, he felt the river's current tug gently at his feet. He knew it was time. So he lay down beside the water, closed his eyes, and whispered, "Take me with you." The villagers later said the river carried him away. But they were wrong. He had never been carried away. He had simply gone home. The story of the Riverman is not about surrendering to fate. It's about learning to trust the natural rhythm of life, to stop fighting against the flow that was always carrying you. Because every time we force the current, we lose ourselves to exhaustion. But when we allow it to guide us, we return to what we were always meant to be, a part of the greater movement of everything. And maybe that's what Lao Tzu meant all along, that nature's patience isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because in the time we spend hurrying toward purpose, life, quietly, patiently, is already fulfilling its own. And in that stillness, we realize we never needed to chase the river. We were always standing inside it. There comes a moment for all of us when life itself feels like that rushing river. Deadlines roar, expectations crash. Every step forward feels like swimming upstream against an invisible tide. We tell ourselves, I just need to keep going. We paddle harder, breathe faster, force meaning out of exhaustion. And yet, the more we push, the further peace drifts away. But what if peace was never at the finish line? What if it's waiting in the space between strokes, in the quiet surrender of a breath finally released? There's a kind of courage that the modern world rarely honors, the courage to slow down, the courage to stop forcing and start flowing. Because slowing down isn't giving up, it's coming home. It's remembering that we were never meant to live as machines, but as beings, alive, aware, receptive to the rhythm of existence. We are not separate from the river. We are the river. We are the wind through the trees, the pause between heartbeats, the silence between thoughts. And in that realization, something miraculous happens. The weight we've been carrying quietly begins to dissolve. You feel it in your chest, that soft loosening, the constant pressure to prove, to hurry, to arrive. It melts. And beneath it, there's something even more powerful: presence. Presence is not passive. It's the deepest form of participation. When you are present, every moment becomes whole. A sip of tea becomes eternity. A walk through the rain becomes a conversation with the sky. A single breath feels like a lifetime. And that's when you understand the truth Lao Tzu whispered millennia ago. You were never meant to chase harmony. You are harmony. You were never meant to master life. You are life. The world will keep telling you to run, faster, harder, louder. But the Tao offers another invitation: to stand still, to listen, to let the current remind you that there was never anything to catch up to. When you stop fighting the current, you begin to move again, not because you're forcing it, but because you finally aligned with what was always carrying you. And in that moment, the noise fades, the hurry falls away, time slows, and so do you. You realize the world isn't asking you to conquer it. It's asking you to feel it, to breathe with it, to remember that the same force that moves the stars also moves you. And perhaps that's all Lao Tzu was ever trying to tell us, that the moment we stop hurrying, everything, quietly, finally, is accomplished. The truth is, there was never anything missing. The rushing, the striving, the endless chase, all of it was the mind's attempt to find what the heart had never lost. When Lao Tzu said, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished," he wasn't offering a philosophy to admire. He was giving us permission to return to ourselves, to breathe, to wait, to trust. Look outside. The trees aren't rushing to grow. The clouds don't argue with the wind. The waves don't compete for space. Everything moves together, effortlessly, in quiet perfection. And you too belong to that rhythm. Your life isn't late. Your purpose isn't behind schedule. Your peace isn't lost. It's simply waiting beneath the noise. So tonight, don't fill the silence. Let it hold you. Let it teach you that time is not your enemy, impatience is, and that the world unfolds just fine without being controlled. Because when you slow down enough to see, you realize nothing in nature forces itself, and yet everything happens exactly when it should. So let go. Let the current take you, not away from life, but deeper into it. And perhaps then you'll finally understand there was never any need to hurry. Everything was always already accomplished.